What's a humanized or human-centric workplace, and why is it so important? I would like to think that most people, I would hope that every one of you would raise your hand that you want to be treated like a human being at your workplace. If you don't, then, hey, maybe I'm not speaking to you myself, because, hey, we're all humans. We all have our own life. We all have our own way of approaching things. We have our own biorhythms. Some people love mornings, which is not me, by the way. I'm a natural night owl. Some people like nights. Some people like to work 7 days a week. Some people like to work 4. So a humanized workplace, and why is it important? I'm sort of giving you a little sneak preview, but then if I look at a few things that I wanted to cover, the first thing, and I want to start with this because I don't know who originated this quote, but when I first came upon it about 3 or 4 years ago, it changed a lot for me, and I've repeated it more times than I can count, is create for yourself a lifestyle where your work fits in seamlessly, replacing a work style where you struggle to find time to live your life. That is a human-centric, humanized workplace. Lifestyles matter, not work styles. It's permissionless. You do not have to seek permission to take care of your kids. Your kids, I would like to say, and you don't have to raise your hand for this one, but I would like to say your kids or your grandkids are probably deeply precious to you, let alone if your kids happen to be of the animal variety. Maybe you have 3 dogs, maybe you have 2 cats, and maybe they're your kids. One of my best friends is a guy named Carmen, and he has a little Jack Russell Terrier that is his kid. So permissionless means you don't have to get permission to take care of your kids, whether they're human or another species. You take care of your kids. Also, we just came out of a very disruptive era from a public health perspective. You take care of your health. You do not have to get permission to take care of your health. Doctor's appointments, surgeries, things like that, okay? Also, if there is a bad weather day maybe, or there's massive construction or something like that, you do not have to struggle to get to a workplace in person because of some archaic return to office mandate, okay? Permissionless means that you do not have to seek permission to do this stuff, and that's why it's important, because your life, it's a lifestyle, it should not be a work style. Also, results in a humanized workplace are way more important than fixed timeframes. So in other words, if you have a positional leader or a servant leader, which by the way is different than a boss, because most bosses tend to be managers or administrators. Big, huge difference, folks. The boss tends to have a fixed time frame in mind for you. The leader tends to say, I just want your results. You were hired to do X, Y, and Z. You delivered X, Y, and Z. Therefore, you're good. Instead of a fixed time frame where it's like, well, you didn't work 50 hours a week, even though I'm paying you for 40. Okay, that's archaic and obsolete, and it's not human. Portable benefits. Benefits should not be considered part of a package anymore in the future of work, because there's a lot of companies out there and they don't have the money to advertise heavily. So you need to seek them out. So if you are an employer listening to this, you should be looking on the information superhighway, just kidding, the internet. You should be looking on the internet for benefits that are portable so you can attract different generations to your workplace. Because I believe that a humanized workplace is catering to the best of their ability to all of the generations that are active. Because right now in the workplace of 2022, as this is being recorded and delivered, there are people from the silent generation, the boomers, the Xers, the millennials, and the Zoomers, 5 generations to some degree active in the workplace. So portable benefits is something that I strongly encourage as a part of a humanized workplace, where a Zoomer is going to have a lot different interest in benefits than a silent generation person who probably has come out of some form of retirement, or maybe they never did because they weren't able to handle life afterwards, because maybe they defined their life by their work, or maybe they went through some tough times for, we've been through some pretty tough times the last 25 years. You think about it, you had the Y2K issue, you had 9/11, you had the Great Recession, you had the COVID era, a lot of things going on, right? So portable benefits is something that's part of a humanized workplace. Also, everyone learns, and I repeat, everyone. This is not about aristocratic elitist behavior. You are not a supervisor or above, therefore you cannot go on the retreat. You are not a manager and above, and you cannot take the half day off to go to this special speaker that we brought in. That's not a humanized workplace. Everyone learns. So building a workplace around cohorts where everyone is learning at roughly the same pace, building a workplace around a round table where people are literally around some form of a table, doesn't have to be obviously physical, or my favorite concept of the 3, although all 3 I like, is a mastermind. And if you've never heard of a mastermind, I encourage you to use the World Wide Web. There's my joke again. Use the World Wide Web to look up a mastermind, because masterminds first started to come into vogue in the 1930s with a gentleman named Napoleon Hill. And 80 plus years later, masterminds are incredibly valuable. And no, you do not have to be a certain type of profession to be a part of a mastermind. So everyone learns in a humanized workplace. Also, these workplaces are more autonomous and less hierarchical. If I say that 10 times fast, it might come out 5 different ways. Autonomous over hierarchical. So the organization is more fluid and is not so rigid that you cannot have humanity, meaning like a director, for example, in a more hierarchical organization may not have any idea what the newest hires are doing, but you have to understand, in a human workplace, everyone deserves to be treated as a person with their own unique skills, dreams, vision, ideas, and generally their life, okay? So more autonomous is best, if at all possible. And why is it important? A couple of quick things I'll re-stress or repeat and also bring up for the first time is stress mitigation. Lots of stories out there about stress. And unfortunately, a lot of times we either don't rip the Band-Aid off enough and we don't solve it at the deep level, or we attempt to deflect it to someone, to some third party, or we kick the can down the road. Stress can be solved if we take courageous actions and do things differently than maybe even our peer organization does. So maybe you're in a banking industry and you have 2 similarly sized banks. How about be the one that actually has a human workplace and let the other one, let the chips fall there, what they're made with the other one. I'll be willing to bet the other one will be hit by the Great Resignation, the quit, and the reshuffle before yours, because you are dealing with things and mitigating stress. And that, of course, ties in directly with burnout reduction. Again, stories are everywhere about burnout. I even have a good friend of mine in my network who is a burnout coach. So like I said, I don't do any coaching whatsoever, but I have a lot of people I know who do coach. I offer many different solutions, one of which is mentoring, which is different than coaching. But do I sometimes encounter burnout in my world of mentoring and such? Absolutely. Because if you are not a humanized workplace and you don't put any prioritization on it, burnout is very real. So how about we solve it once and for all and stop kicking the can down the road and stop this kind of we have to deal with it because it is what it is, not necessarily. And then lastly, you may have heard about it. If not, use the internet. Now I'll be back to the modern word. Look up the Barna and/or Gallup studies. Barna and Gallup have been studying workplace satisfaction and engagement for years and years and years. And you know how disappointing it is to someone like me who's a strategist and a visionary and a futurist to see that some of these measurements have stagnated or even gone backwards. Less people are satisfied, less people are engaged. You know what that makes me feel like? It makes me feel like, what are people doing? These are workplaces where human beings are doing their best to provide a lifestyle instead of a work style to themselves, to their families, to their kids, grandkids yet to be born. They're contributing to the local community, they're providing taxation and all that stuff. For the love of goodness, why can't we move the needle on this stuff? It's because oftentimes, again, we're kicking the can down the road. We're living in a fear or scarcity state rather than abundance. We're thinking about zero-sum games instead of a pie that's infinitely growing. We're not looking at true leadership, but we're getting caught up in management and administration. So the Barna and Gallup studies are very enlightening. And I'll tell you, you can get some really big questions for your employers if you look at those and ask questions. And it's like, have a little courage and ask some stuff, I would strongly encourage it.